Well, when I started this journey about 45 years ago, it was raw food diet, 100%. And it's been that way. A part of my journey, me and my daughter acquiring the restaurant, authoring certain dishes and creating certain dishes because we wanted the restaurant to be totally raw. After a while, with customers' demands, we figured out we had to add some cooked dishes, which we did. Authoring those dishes, you have to taste those dishes, try those dishes out. So I would say that my diet now, present day, is some days 100% raw, some about 90.
Okay.
It's only possible because there's certain tenements that have to be followed in this dimension to be able to accomplish that on an everyday basis without interruption. My existence started with my parents that come from sharecropper families from Virginia. So I was raised on fatback gravy, chitlins, Kool-Aid, uh, all spam sandwiches, predominantly pork, fatback. This is the way I was raised. And okay, my mother and father come from Virginia. They both were come from sharecropper families, and I had four other siblings. It was five of us. Two of them are now deceased, and we lived a life of a lot of simplicity. We were, I guess you would call it poor, but we did not know that we were. We had a lot of fun. I was raised in Philadelphia, down in North Philadelphia, down near 20th and York, Dolphin Street. I remember a very beautiful childhood in that it was a community at that time. It was very clean. It was just a different time than it is now. Our food, like I said, was made by my mother, and it was homemade everything, homemade biscuits, homemade pie, um, fritters, soups, but it was predominantly potatoes, beans, um, fatback, usually because we didn't eat that much chicken. That was more expensive. So we didn't eat that maybe once or twice a week, maybe, but it was usually some type of a pork thing. Um, right now, coming up out of the five children, I was not that, I was the sickly one of all five. So I was very like sickly, usually, usually like earaches, my sore throats. I'm always having something wrong, that I have to lay in the bed or something like that. My other four siblings didn't have any of that. I was primarily, when I started working at 15, my diet was primarily because I had money now to eat junk. So I ate a lot of sugar and fast food, in addition to what I was eating at home. I was not what they would call healthy, probably, but I was strong enough to do things like jump double dutch for hours every day. I ran a lot. I did a lot of running. However, I had those bouts of not feeling well. And also, I think I had more or less maybe like a sleep disorder, where it was hard for me to get up. Um, so they wouldn't have considered me healthy, probably, but I was strong enough to do certain things, like jump rope for like 6 hours a day or stuff like that. But when I was down, I was down. I had a lot of cavities because I ate so much junk. Um, it was just a up and down thing. So when I was good, I was good. I could jump, run, do all of that. But when I was going through something, because my immune system, I know now, was weak, I'd be laying down in the bed. My sister was just talking to me about that the other day. She said, it's amazing how you are now, because I remember when we were coming up, how sickly you were.
From what I'm understanding, you considered all of this to be normal.
Yeah,
Even the times when you weren't feeling your best, it was just
right.
your norm.
Yeah, that was my norm. I didn't think anything about it.
So
It's
what
just,
happened to make you reconsider that possibility?
well, the first thing that happened was I got married very young at the age of 20. It was just me, and I didn't have any children then. And I remember my neighbor was a Muslim girl. And when we would talk, she would say, oh, what did you eat last night? And it was always something pork related, because at that time I wasn't into cooking. I did not like the kitchen or to cook. So my mother-in-law always cooked, so I ate there. So she would say, what did you have? And it's always pork related. And she would say, you're not supposed to be eating pork. This is wrong. And I actually thought she was a little crazy, because in my world, that's the predominant meat. So you're telling me that that's wrong. So I just looked at her like, you don't know what you're talking about. But I didn't tell her that. I just listened, but I wasn't going to change anything. And so this was constant. She was in the Nation of Islam, so she had all of this material about the hog. And so she would give me all of these things and tell me to read these things. And I did, because I'm an avid reader. I'm an avid reader. But it did not occur to me to change. I didn't want to change because I enjoyed eating 3 rows of lemon sandwich cookies. I enjoyed eating Geno Giants, because that's what it was back then, or Burger King when that came out, which was like, I guess I was in my teens when I saw the first fast food restaurant, Geno Giant. Then later came like the Burger Kings, and so I didn't want to, and like my consciousness couldn't hear her. Like it was blockages that I did not know at that time, that I was blocked off from that type of information, because I had addictions at that time that I was not aware of. So I would protect my addiction, which is, this is what I do. This is what my family does. They've always done it. I'm fine. I didn't look at myself back then as not being healthy.
Addiction is such a strong word to use.
Yeah, and that's what I was, but I didn't realize it. I thought I was normal, because, okay, so what if I eat 5 glazed donuts in a day with a Mountain Dew? So what? That ain't no big deal. And I mean, this was like what I did. I had a severe addiction to sugar, and fast food. And like I said, I don't want to be in the kitchen cooking anything. So I want to eat out.
Okay.
I want to feed my addiction, which at the time I did not know that it was. But what she did do, she had an extensive library. And one day I just picked a book, and it happened to be by Gregory, Cooking with Mother Nature. That is what changed my life. That's what changed my life. And it's really interesting because my life from a child is reading library books. My dad would take me, and you could get 12. I would get all 12. Read them, couldn't wait to go back. So I am not surprised that my transformation came from a book.
Was there one thing in particular that you read that just resonated with you? Because you said all along this woman had been talking to you.
Yes.
And you weren't connecting.
No.
But you read something.
Yeah. And what I read was that if you take certain things out of your diet, you'll be a new person. You'll be different. And I felt that I needed to be different. One of the reasons was because me and my husband would bicker a lot. And in the book, it said that it would change your attitude. And I felt I needed that. So that's what resonated with me.
Okay.
That you would be different, that you would be more calm, you would be more easy. And that is the part that resonated with me, that made me even want to attempt. Because I didn't know anybody, even though my friend didn't eat pork, she ate everything else. She ate sugar, she ate beef and all of that. She just didn't eat pork. So the sugar thing, she ate a lot of sugar too.
So I'm hearing that at some level, there was some dissatisfaction.
Yes, with myself.
With yourself.
Yes.
And this book offered you a way to change.
Yes.
So
the book offered me that, but I didn't really know anything about that. So I'm reading it, and I don't, it's like it's foreign to me in a way, because he maps out what you have to do. So I remember leaving my friend's house, going in the bedroom, reading the book, and it was a little paperback. And then I came out and said to my husband, I'm changing my diet. I was very excited, very excited. He said, why would you do that? I'm like, because it said that it's good, it's going to help you. And he said, well, I don't know why you want to do that. And you don't know anything about it. And I'm like, well, we'll see.
Okay, so not a lot of support coming from your husband.
No. And I didn't have anybody that was doing it.
Okay.
It just was me.
So tell me the changes you made in your diet.
Well, I went by what he said in the book. It was a 30-day thing. And you started out, you went from fruits and vegetables, and it was raw, fruits and vegetables to fruits to juices. And then the last 3 days, I'll never forget, it was water only, because it was a little hard for me. It was water only the last 3 days. And it was interesting because in that month, I lost, it was amazing how much weight I lost, how much waste I lost, because it was close to 20 pounds.
Wow.
Because I went down from 120 something to 100.
Wow.
And I got a lot of negative feedback about that. A lot of negative feedback.
What kept you going?
Well, most people were telling me how bad I looked, and I looked like a crack addict. And it was really hard, because usually a woman is attached to what she looks like. So when people start saying, oh, you look really bad, or you're so skinny, or what happened to you, and things like that, the only thing that made me move forward was the way I felt, even though I did look pretty scrawny and I didn't look good at all. That was true. But however, the way I felt was amazing. So that's what kept me moving. I didn't like the food though. I must say, did I like what I was eating and doing? Not really.
Because you said you started off with raw fruits and vegetables.
Yeah,
Then
totally different from what I do. So I didn't like it. I didn't like the food, because what are you eating? Fruits and salads. Did I like fruit? Fruit was good, but it just was salads, and I didn't at that time know how to make anything. There was no restaurants I could go to because most of the vegetarian or vegan restaurants serve soy or some type of wheat, gluten, something. And that wasn't a part of that diet.
And it sounded like it intensified as the days went by. Fruits and vegetables all the way to
Water.
just water the last 3 days. So you
Yeah.
did a water fast.
Yes.
At the end of 30 days. And you
I
felt
was different. I was different.
so
I couldn't even step on the roach if I saw it on the floor.
because of you didn't want to kill a life?
I didn't want to kill a life because as I'm doing this, my husband had bought me some books because he was really supportive. He was the only one that did not tell me I looked bad. He just would say, "How you feeling?"
Mm-hmm.
Because I still had to make his dinner and his food.
Oh, so you're still frying up pork
I'm
chops?
doing all of that. Going shopping, buying all of that.
Wow.
None of that changed.
Wow.
The only thing that changed is I was adding what I was eating. But as far as my household, it still had soda, ice cream, cake.
And you could walk past the temptation.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I walked past the temptation
So then
because
my question is, what happens on day 31? You've done 30 days, you've ended
right, so,
a 3-day fast, water fast,
right.
and now it's the next day, the day after all of this. What do
Okay.
you do? How do you decide to eat?
Okay, well, I'm eating salads. At that time, I wasn't eating any salt. So the only salts that I were eating were seaweed salts, like kelp powder, dulse powder, wakame. So that was the only salts that I ate. Salads. That was basically it. Because at that time, like I'm saying, I didn't know anybody doing this, and I didn't. First of all, I didn't even like being in the kitchen or cooking anything. So I had certain things I had to do, which was cook for me and my husband, but that was the bare minimum because we would usually go to his mother's house. So now I have to make my own salads because I'm no longer eating at his mother's house. So he just would say, well, make me something. And so I make rice-a-roni, gravy or something, and some type of vegetable.
So your diet doesn't sound that appetizing.
It wasn't.
It doesn't sound flavorful.
It wasn't.
It doesn't sound like it was that you would look forward to eating. And
No, it wasn't any of that because it was a new world for me. I don't know basically what I'm doing. All I know is these fruits and vegetables is what I'm eating. That's all, and juicing and nuts and fruit. So that was my window. So I'm not going outside of that window.
Sounds like you have a lot of discipline.
Um, most people would say that I do. Um, I'm driven. I'm a person that's driven and has been, when you look back at yourself and I see as a child, I was driven. That time I was driven to get good grades. So I'm driven. Um, I'm jumping double dutch. I'm driven to be the best double dutch jumper. I'm driven. I'm playing jacks. I'm going to be the best jack player. That's how I've always been. So I guess it's just carry over. And not only that, so as I'm reading more about this lifestyle I'm beginning, now I'm opening up. So I'm opening up the fact that I'm different because I don't want to argue with my husband anymore.
Oh, so let's stop. You felt as though there was a change in your attitude in how you felt as a
Yes,
result of changing your diet. So the things that you were looking for, that change that you were looking for, you actually saw it when you changed your diet.
I saw it, and then I it was a little like sad for me because now how do I protect myself? Because if an argument ensued, now I can't argue with you. So at that particular time, I may go to myself and like cry a little bit because now what do I do? Because before, how I would fight back, because you say this to me, I'm gonna say that to you. You say that to me, I'll say that to you. I can't do that now.
Hmm.
Now what? So now I'm in a place where how do I protect myself against things like that? So, but what I loved about it was that I couldn't muster up that type of energy to fight like that.
Hmm.
So I couldn't muster up that type of thing to go back and forth, back and forth. So I just would be quiet. Now, the danger in that is that people can take that for weakness, which kind of like happened to me. Um, but what can I do about it right now? Nothing, because I don't know what to do.
So you're not seeing this as a religious, spiritual type of conversion. This is all.
Not yet. See, the spiritual part comes later. Now, the only thing that I'm doing is more like about the food. It's like the food, the food, the food. I have to do this. And I'm not, because at this particular time, I hadn't started meditating yet. This is just the food like propelling me, but I haven't, I noticed that certain things I couldn't do that I used to do without a problem. I can't do this anymore. Like, say, for instance, when me and my sisters and my mother would get together, suppose like my older sister who was having problems, we would talk about her. That's not nice, but that's what we did. Well, it got to a place. No, that came later. That came later. So right now, it's like I'm doing the food. It's changing me, but I haven't looked at it as a spiritual thing yet.
So are you just finding more books at this point to get more
Yes,
information?
I'm finding more books. Um, and that's what I started doing, finding more books. When I would go to Essenes down at Fourth and Monroe, they had this like magazine, and in that magazine, they would talk about certain books. Then I found this group of people. They were Caucasians, and they did raw food from this paper. This paper. So now we're fast forwarding because that's a little ahead. because I went through a period that we didn't talk about where I fell off of my diet.
So let me get a chronological sense of this. You were married and then you decided, I want to make a change.
Right.
Now, how old were you at this point?
25.
Okay. You make the change and you are kind of educating yourself along the way.
Yes.
You're noticing that you're starting to respect life, but you don't really consider this a spiritual journey at this.
Not at all.
And you're still cooking for your husband.
Yes.
Everything.
Because
none of that has changed.
None of that has changed. None of that has changed. I go shopping at the supermarket, everything I used to do, except now I have to buy food for me. He wasn't interested at all.
All right. But you like what you were feeling, and so you said, I'm going to continue.
Yes. But I didn't like the food, but I liked how I was feeling.
All right. And basically at this point, it's raw salads.
Yes. And a lot of juicing.
And a lot of juicing.
A lot of juicing.
Are you fasting still or no? It's just vegetables?
Yeah. What I did back then is I took one day, my day for fasting was every Monday. Was only juice and water. Every Monday.
Yeah. Sounds like a lot of discipline.
And I was working at the time, so it was like I had a lot of flack on that end. Just people heckling you, and okay, I went from this to that, looking this way to looking that way. So it was a little, and then I don't participate anymore in the donuts and the coffee and the pizza. So, it gets people,
It makes
change.
people uncomfortable.
It made people uncomfortable. It made people uncomfortable.
And then there are holidays that you have to deal with. And
It's
so
holidays.
you would go to Thanksgiving dinner with your raw salad.
Yes. I never stopped going. Like, we would usually go where my husband's family, with his family. And I never stopped going to any family functions. Never.
Wow.
I just would, when I first started, I didn't really tell everybody exactly what I was doing outside of my husband. So I would just say, no, thank you. I'm okay. And they didn't notice it because I would still be having fun and talking to everybody. So they didn't really notice me so much not eating. Everything really took a change. Okay, so I went probably like a year and a half where I fell off because I made the mistake of eating one thing that was outside of that raw thing. One thing. And that was, I think it might have been McDonald's. I think it was a fish fillet. I think I ate a fish fillet and it was all over. After that,
meaning what?
I down spiraled.
The taste was so,
it was so good.
So good. Because it was flavorful. What I'm hearing is what you had been eating was bland.
Yes.
And you finally had something that was
tasty and good. And that was my world. That fast food and sugar, that was my world. So I down spiraled. After that, I went back to eating chicken. I was eating ice cream, but I still was juicing and I still would have a salad. But I added all of these things. I just couldn't help myself. I was just like, one thing just led to another. I was not happy with myself about it, but I still, in my addiction, which I hadn't really recognized yet, it's just like when an alcoholic, when they say, you can't have one drink. Now, I learned later on through my journey why they say that, why they say don't have that drink. If you are a foodaholic, they say, don't eat that piece of cake. I know, oh, I'm just eating it just this one time. No, you're not. Because you have to face the fact that you have an addiction. Now, you can deal with that, or you can decide not to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
You can say, oh, I'm going to eat cake when I want to. I don't do it all the time. Okay, that's fine. So what I did when I ate that fish fillet, it down spiraled me, and I couldn't get out at the time. I just went down. I couldn't get out. And I would say the next day that I was going to get out, but that next day it never came.
Yeah. So,
Until I got pregnant with my daughter. Now this is the next phase.
okay, so you were following this raw vegan diet
Mm-hmm.
for over a year and a half.
Right,
Then you spiraled down
right.
and nothing changed until you became pregnant.
Then I was very disappointed in myself because I had already, from the readings I had did, I already had said that I want, when I have children, I want to be raw food vegan.
Wow.
Even though people around me were saying that's stupid because you have to have some animal food.
For the
So
protein, that's right.
that's what people would tell me when I said what but I didn't believe them because I just couldn't believe that I had to eat dead animals to have a healthy child.
I couldn't believe that I had to eat dead animals to have a healthy child. Wow. There is so much more to discuss. To be continued.